Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
And thank you for joining us today, folks. Noted psychiatrist Dr. Francis Cress Welsing will be here later. Dr. Welsing says we need a new black attitude and mindset to achieve all the goals that we're after. You know, she'll explain what she means by that. Many of you may have heard her say that on Tuesday. But before we get to Dr. Welsing, researcher brother Tyrike is here. Tyrike is here on this very first full day of fall. He'll tell us what the seasonal change means, how we should keep in unison with the universe. Brother Tyrike will also tell us his thoughts on why the Pope is really in Washington, D.C. The pontiff meets with the president this morning. And today is also a major Jewish holiday. It's Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. Is this all a coincidence? We'll find out. Tell your friends to lock us in for the next 4 hours. You really don't want to miss this ride, folks. You can also listen live to us anywhere in the world at WOLDCnews.com. You can download the app and take us anywhere you want to go. Oh, and this reminds me to tell you folks that if you missed Tuesday's show, go to the WOLDC News website and you can hear a podcast, a repeat of that show. That's the WOLDCnews.com. Right now, let's go back and over to Brother Tyrike. Brother Tyrike, welcome back to WOL Radio.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Carl. How you doing?
We're doing great. You get a little closer to that phone. Appreciate it. Brother Tyrike, today is the first full day of fall. You know, when people think about fall, autumn, we think about football, think about the leaves falling, and we think about it's about to get a little colder. But what does it really mean?
Well, it's the fall equinox. It is a time of year when we're moving towards. It is actually the harvest season. This is the harvest season coming up, and we're moving towards the winter solstice, which the winter solstice is when the days are the same as the nights, the same time. In other words, when the winter solstice comes, then the day and the night are equal. So the solstice for the fall now is for the harvest season. This is when we prepare ourselves for the long winter night, so to speak. And that's the significance of this. Now, though, we have a special meeting coming up, or we got a special visitor here yesterday, and that's ushering in another season, so to speak, and that's what I see as the coming war.
All right, we'll let you connect the dots in a moment. Let's talk about this seasonal thing. What should we be doing now? You mentioned that as we enter the fall, is there anything special that we should be doing?
Well, we should be eating more of the vegetable kingdom, so to speak, and preparing food for the long winter coming up. And that's one of the main things that we should be doing, preparing ourselves for the winter solstice.
Tariq, who decided this? Somebody had to decide, when they made this calendar, that this particular day. And does it always fall on this day? Is it got something to do with the moon? Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, we have actually a special moon coming up as well. They call it the blood moon. This is the 28th, I believe. It's supposed to be the blood moon coming, and this blood moon has come previously, and has signified that there's some dark days ahead.
Wow. So is this for real, or is this just somebody just saying this because of the change in the season and then again we've got Yom Kippur, the one of the holiest Jewish holidays, the Day of Atonement for the Jews. Is all of this coincidental, or is really something going to happen?
Well, it coincides with the shmitah. The shmitah is Jewish holiday that returns every 7 years to determine that there's going to be a major catastrophe. But I found something very interesting yesterday, which I always come across things from around the world sent to me, and this is from a man by the name of Michael Hoffman, and he writes an article called Yom Kippur Gives Jews Permission to Deceive. He says that Yom Kippur is the liar's holiday. And it goes a little bit like this. Yom Kippur begins Tuesday evening, September 22nd, wherein the Western world will watch in awe as pious, quote, Jews, unquote, allegedly, quote, beg God for forgiveness while supposedly striving for righteousness, quote, unquote. No doubt that the Pope of Rome and the heads of the Protestant fundamentalist churches will convey their esteem to the Yom Kippur ceremony as performed by God's people. And what he says is that the truth is that the Kol Nidre is the ceremony whereby all the perjury you will commit in the coming year, you and all contracts you will sign and violate in the coming year, and 3, all the promises you will break during the coming year are absolved with no heavenly punishment accruing to as a result. So this is again an example of how the so-called Jewish people end up using their own thing as an excuse to as Mr. Hoffman says deceive the people. And then if anyone says anything about this outside of them, then that this is heresy, And so I usually choose to read what they say about themselves, because this is where we see what the truth is, and it's like also the subject of race. You hear a lot about it in the media these days. And, I've been looking into this issue for many, many years and written I think it's a pretty extensive article on race, as we see how race has been thrown around and talked about and used on a daily basis. And we find out that race is a big lie, because there is but the human race, and that's we. We are the human race. And I say we when I especially mean we, the melanated people, and this particular concept of race is a concept that emanated from a backward and ignorant culture of a recently awakened Europa
Hold that thought right there. I want you to get into the race issue, because it seems like when it comes to race, they always try to, to tell us to be cool. What you're saying, exactly what you're repeating, that's what they're saying. That while Dr. Anderson says it's a race, what it means is a race. Somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose, and we're the designated losers. So I want you to expound on that after this traffic report. So hang on a second, Brother Tyrike. Folks, you too can join the conversation with Brother Tyrike. Reach out to us. It's really easy. It's 800-450-7876. Your calls after this traffic update on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
This update brought to you by At Home, the home decor superstore. Well, traveling in the city right now, northbound, southbound 295, you'll find a good trip. No reported problems as you're coming off the BW Parkway, crossing Route 50, and headed down towards the 11th Street Bridge, passing Pennsylvania Avenue. We do have some parking restrictions in place. 14th Street between Independence Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue, that for the papal visit. Also on the National Mall, 14th Street between Independence Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue, you'll find that closed. And HOV lane users can exit towards the 3rd Street Tunnel. Through lane users can use the 12th Street Expressway. Also, in front of the White House, 15th Street, both northbound, southbound between Independence Avenue and H Street, you're going to find that closed. Closure in place between Main Avenue Southwest and H Street. and also parking restrictions between Main Avenue Southwest and H Street Northwest on 15th Street between Independence and H, and also 16th Street between H Street and I Street. You're going to find that closed. At Home is opening October 8th in the Manassas Mall. The grand opening is Saturday, October 17th. The first 100 customers get a $50 gift card. The next 250 customers get a free tote bag. Weather today, well, things are looking pretty good. We're looking at sunny skies later today with highs near 80. Tonight, lows dipping into the 60s. Thursday and Friday, highs both days in the low to mid-80s. Lows both days in the 60s in the city, upper 50s in the woods. Now 65 degrees in Washington. I'm Jim Lavin on WOL, 1450 AM, where information is power.
My name is Andrea Lee Greenberg. I walk for Autism Speaks because my son Tyler is the single most important person in my life. Walk Now for Autism Speaks raises awareness every time a city puts on a walk. It is a terrific way to come together as a community, to reach out to one another, to get the message out that these children and these adults are incredible human beings.
To find a walk near you, visit walknowforautismspeaks.org.
Those of us who were around in the 50s and 60s struggling, many of us have gotten tired, and we let the enemy have his way. Well, I did my best, they'll say, and you all take it now. I'm just going to sit down and relax or retire. I have never seen a lion retire from being a lion. I may not bite as hard as I used to, but I can still bite.
Don't miss the Farrakhan Speaks broadcast this and every Sunday at 8 a.m. until 9 a.m. right here on WOL 1450 AM, where information is power. That's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on the air this Sunday at 8 a.m. If you missed last Sunday's message, you have to hear him this Sunday. Don't miss it.
Prince George's County Public Schools Department of Food and Nutrition Service wants you to participate in the Summer Food Service Program, providing free nutritious meals and snacks for children ages 18 years or younger. Visit feeding sites between 11 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. Cooper Lane Elementary School, Gladys Noon Spellman Elementary School, Judge Sylvania Woods Elementary School, Ridgecrest Elementary School, Roger Heights Elementary School, and Rosa Parks Elementary School. Or call 301-952-6580.
Carl Nelson live and local from 6 to 10 a.m. on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for staying with us 12 minutes after the hour with Brother Tyrike. He's a researcher. We're going to connect the dots, all these things happening today, or at least for the next few days. And he says it's not a coincidence. The Pope is in town, as we mentioned, and people in D.C. know that because the traffic is horrendous. As you heard in the traffic report, a lot of the streets are closed around where he's staying on Massachusetts Avenue. But also a lot of the roads and roadways going into downtown D.C. also closed as well. And is it just by coincidence? You know, we mentioned today is also Yom Kippur, one of the holiest Jewish days, the Day of Atonement. And also, Brother Tyrike was mentioning another, I'm not sure how to pronounce it correctly, Brother Tyrike, because you can help me out on this. That's part of the Jewish calendar, and you mentioned about the moon as well. All these things, and then next week, early next week, we've got the UN. All world leaders are going to be in town. So what is behind all of this? Help us out.
Well, the thing that is being sort of hidden in front of our face is the shmitah, and the shmitah,
right?
The shmitah, yes, and the shmitah is a 7-year cycle. From the so-called Jewish calendar. I call it the Yiddish calendar because it's more Yiddish than anything else out of Germany. But this particular situation, every 7 years, something very bad, quote unquote, happens. And we had 9/11, we had the 2008 crash, and here we are again. 7 years later, and we're going to have the global currency reset coming up. And that's where we're going to see a completely new situation. Hopefully, it's going to be a wonderful new day coming up with the release of a lot of the great ideas and ways of doing things that have been kept from the people, such as, for example, this gas that was developed by a brother by the name of Thompson years and years ago, called Thompson's gas, and it turned water into a fuel. And so you could run your automobile with this. Well, Mr. Thompson, he got killed, and he disappeared. And then the whole idea has more or less languished. But there are people out there who know how to do this and who can do this, and they have just not been allowed to do this. And we would have no dependency upon oil like we have today if this had been allowed to come out. So a lot of this stuff is coming in this new period. But the shmitah is always an indication that every 7 years that a major catastrophe happens, and we had the last one, like I say, the 2008 economic crash of the world, wherein all of George W. Bush's boys came in and said that if they didn't come up with $710 billion, that the whole economy was going to crash. Well, they bailed out the banks, but they forgot to bail out the people. And so we're still so-called recovering from the 2008 crash. So we have some serious stuff coming up, and prayerfully it's going to be good stuff. And
let me interrupt you and ask you this: Could it be ushering what Keaty's been talking about, the global reset, and that the economy is going to change, and that Africa is going to be the next continent rising? Do you see that as well?
Well, you might say that that's going to happen, because why otherwise would there be such a thing called AFRICOM? And AFRICOM is now establishing bases throughout the continent of Africa, and in preparation for an attempt to take over the continent again for all of its massive resources, especially water, whereas water is one of the largest resources in the world on the continent of Africa. So this is one of the major things that this particular period is indicating. And like I say, when you have a visit from Pope Francis from the Vatican, which is part of the international triad, so to speak, of the imperialism of the world, with the Vatican being one part, the City of London, which is a city-state, which is that's the economic part, and then you have Washington D.C., which fills out the triad which is the military part. And so what they're trying to do now.
Yeah, now before you do a drive-by on us on that one, because a lot of people don't know that. What you just mentioned about the City of London is almost like the Vatican is in Rome, and it's ruled all by itself. And the City of London different from London City, and Washington D.C. Of course we know that it's different from the rest of this. It's not a state. Exactly. So if you can expound on that a little bit.
Well, this again is the international triad of power that we've seen here in the last years, well, in many of the last years coming to this point. And Washington D.C. is the military arm, whereas City of London is the economic and psychological arm, as the City of London houses the Tavistock Institute, and the Tavistock Institute has much to do with the way people think and feel these days, as they've been using their mind control methods on the people of the world. And then you have the Vatican, which is the spiritual part. Now, the Vatican is now completely controlled by the Jesuits. We have a Jesuit Pope, and we have a Jesuit general, which is the so-called Black Pope, which resides in the catacombs of Rome, or right below the Vatican, and that's where they worship the statue of the Holy Mother and Child, which is Isis and Osiris, and so
now is that the Black Madonna you're talking about?
Well, yeah, that's the melanated Madonna, yes, because remember, folks, a lot of the words that we use these days are stolen words, and meanings are stolen as well. And the word black, in its etymology, means bleached out and pale. So we must stop with this misuse of words and this designation of ourselves as a color when we should be discussing ourselves as a nation. We are a nationality. We are not a color. There's no such thing as a Negro, black, and colored. We are a nation of people, and our nation has been here for hundreds of thousands of years, long before there was any enslavement process going on from Africa to here. So we've always been here. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of the melanated people of this land, we are the Aboriginal people of this land, and our heritages are the mound builders. We had earthen pyramids from coast to coast in this country, and the Mississippi Delta. If you compare the way the Mississippi Delta looked back in the day.
Right. Hold that thought there about the Delta, and I'll let you expound on that on the other side. We've got to take a quick break. Folks, you too can join our conversation with Brother Tyrike. I tell you don't want to miss any second of this. Reach out to us at 800-450-7876, 21 minutes after the hour. Take your calls. Next, as the big show rolls on from 1450 WOL, where information is power.
This is the sound of one person walking. This is another. Imagine the sound of more than 5 million footsteps, one for every American living with Alzheimer's disease. Now add in the millions more who feel its effects, and think about the impact we make when we all walk together to put an end to Alzheimer's for good. Join the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's. Walk with us this fall in D.C. and Prince George's County. Sign up today at alz.org/walk. That's alz.org/walk.
This is a special news alert to consumers who owe back taxes to the IRS.
Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing during the decline in the U.S. economy, the Internal Revenue Service is now accepting reduced settlements from consumers on back taxes, resulting in back taxes reduced by thousands of dollars. An open phone line has been established by Federal Tax Relief for consumers to call and see if you qualify for this reduction. To ensure your financial stability during this decline in the economy, take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call 1-800-210-1493. That's 1-800-210-1493. If you owe back taxes to the IRS, there's no need to fear anymore. The IRS is now accepting reduced settlements from consumers, resulting in tax debts reduced by thousands of dollars. For your free information and to see if you qualify for your reduction, call the Federal Tax Relief Hotline, 1-800-210-1493, 1-800-210-1493. That's 1-800-210-1493.
The bad news. Here in the richest country on earth, almost 50 million Americans, 1 in 6, suffer in poverty. They go hungry, have no shelter, need basic medical care. The good news, 5 in 6 of us are not in poverty. You can help today. Please go online right now to help with this injustice at takingittothestreets.net. 100% of your donation will reach your neighbor in need. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Go to takingittothestreets.net.
And now back to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio.
And thank you for staying with us, and our guest researcher, Brother Tyrike. And before we left, Brother Tyrike was telling us about what was going on in the Mississippi Delta. Brother Tyrike, I'm going to let you continue before we take some calls for you.
If you would compare the Mississippi Delta to the Nile Delta at the same time, back long before, of course, the Europeans came up out of caves, you would see the Mississippi Delta was one of the most organized and arranged places on the planet, with pyramids and engineering, water engineering, the mounds and structures of the Mississippians and the Mobile people. Again, demonstrate how long we have been in this land, and how it is actually we're looking at over here being the east, and over there being the west, because the maps have been flipped, and this is part of the history that has been hidden by the takeover of education from Leipzig, Germany, and from Dresden, Germany, brought in here by the Rockefellers in the 1920s. And so most of our story has been rewritten and put together by people who have no connection to us whatsoever. And then the story that we hear and believe in, we believe that we were all brought over here on ships, so-called slave ships, when if you look into that whole period of so-called enslavement of African people, you're going to see that most of it is done based upon the vessels that were built at the time, and those ships, so-called ships, were 120 to 130 feet long with 2 masts and sails. Now, if you're talking about sailing across the Atlantic from Africa, you're looking at a 3.5-month voyage for the most part. And those merchants who captured Africans and brought them here certainly were not the majority people anywhere in the planet, and they got all of the vessels that they were using from the Moors, from the 850 years that the Moors reigned in Iberia. So you see, our story has been flipped and turned backwards, and that's one of the problems that we're suffering from, is that we have a version of our story that is not true, but yet still we promote it and believe in it as if it is true. And that's what I was talking about with this whole race issue, because prior to the runaway state of the Roman so-called Roman Empire, which is nothing more than a runaway state, a city-state, we were the ones who reigned on this planet, and have always been on this planet. And we are the only ones who were able to navigate and sail. There were no sailors, people who could sail in Europe until the 1500 A.D. You see, so we must really get with our own story and learn the truth about our story, which will definitely set us free.
All right, hang on a second. We got some folks who want to talk to you. 800-450-7876, 27 after the hour. Let's go out to line 1. Mayhem's in Indiana. Mayhem, you're on with Brother Tyrike.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Tyrike, I want to get to the point. Can you talk about this genocide pope that came over here and gave America permission to start killing his own, and some of us so-called, I know you don't like the word black, but some of our people have been at the table. Some of our famous people that we hear every day has been at the table that said it's okay to genocide these people because their intelligence level is not that high. And I take it up there. Thank you.
Oh, that's a wonderful question, my brother. Yes, this comes from the meeting in Tordesillas, Spain, or which wasn't Spain actually until the 1500s AD. Again, this meeting was between it was within the Catholic Church, and was between Gaines de Sepulveda, a bishop of the Catholic Church, and Bartholomew de las Casas, who raised himself to be a bishop. He was one of the major observers over here under the so-called voyage of discovery, and this whole situation with respect to so-called Columbus and the voyage over here. These people, like I said earlier, they just barely realized that the world was round. And the only reason why they found out that the world was round is because of the Moors. The Moors are the ones who taught them everything that they ever learned. Because before the Moors came into Europe, or Europa as it's called, in the 711 AD, they didn't even know who they were. In fact, they were a bunch of troglodytes, cave dwellers, trying to run things after the post-Roman Empire fall. And so, that's part of the story that we need to know about and learn about, our story, not his story.
So what did the Moors have to do with all this?
Well, the Moors had a lot to do with all this. They ruled Europa for 850 years. So the number one language in Europa was Arabia, or God's language, Arabic, and then all the languages subsequently, such as French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and even English, come out of the language of Arabia, which is called, which was the main language used, and all these languages are actually Pidgin Arabic that I mentioned, as English, Spanish, French, Italian, and Portuguese. These are all languages developing out of Latin, with which they want to tell you is a dead language. That's not the case at all.
All right, and I got a tweet from Sean. He wants you to know more about Thompson gas. He says he looked it up, couldn't find anything on Thompson gas. Can you provide some more information?
You're not going to find a lot about it because again, this was a patent that was stolen and then squashed because it would have destroyed the domination of petroleum in this country. And you have to understand that back in the early 19 teens, the Rockefeller family were busy killing, stealing, and taking over refineries across the country to consolidate their power, the family power. And they turned their whole petroleum waste industry into both the use of coal tar for the roads, which as you see as it becomes asphalt. They mix it with stones and so forth. The other part of it becomes the pharmaceuticals that dominate this world these days and are killing off over 1.5 million people in this country every year. So this comes out of a period from the early 1900s where the Rockefeller family first dominated this whole society.
Right. Hold that thought right there. I'll let you get into that and how they start with Standard Oil. But if you're just joining us, folks, it's 32 minutes before the top of the hour. We're here with Brother Tyrike. He's connecting the dots, the Pope's visit, the changing of the season, and all the other world leaders are coming into town next week. He says it's not coincidental. What are your thoughts? 800-450-7876, your calls. After this news report on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
This report brought to you by the American Association for Cancer Research, finding cures together. Please support cancer research by donating today at www.aacrfoundation.org. A man who shot and killed himself in Northern Virginia was the son of a former state senator. 36-year-old Todd Houck had a criminal past. He was the son of Ed Houck, who served Spotsylvania from 1984 through 2011. Police say the younger Houck shot and killed a man yesterday morning in Caroline County, then kidnapped a woman and led police on a chase that ended with a crash and his suicide along I-95. Metro is anticipating crowded trains due to the papal visit and plans to provide rush-hour level service all day. Drivers are urged to avoid the district due to street closures and parking restrictions. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe calls Metro irresponsible for not having a permanent general manager after 9 months. McAuliffe says the lack of leadership is magnified by an expected strain on the transit system with the Pope in town. Some preschoolers are building a kitty-sized Pope-mobile.
The Washington Post reports that students at St. Jude Regional Catholic School in Rockville have appointed 4-year-old Maximiliano Hernandez as a Pope stand-in, who will drive a cozy coupe edition of the Pope-mobile in their own parade today. The preschoolers will try to follow the Pope's schedule and end up at the school auditorium where they can watch the Pontiff's midday prayer service at St. Matthew's Cathedral. I'm Tom Roberts.
Baltimore with a 4-1 win over Washington. Nats outfielder Bryce Harper says they can't worry about what the division-leading Mets are doing.
We just got to win. I mean, if we win ball games, then that's what we got to do. Tonight doesn't matter because we didn't win. So, all in all, every time we come in here, we got to win games, and if we do that, then I think we could be in contention.
The Nats' Gio Gonzalez pitched into the 4th inning, allowing all of the O's runs. This report brought to you by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Each day, more than 1.6 million Americans suffer with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. Support the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America to help and to find cures at ccfa.org. I'm John Lewis. When you're looking for news from Black America, go to newsone.com.
This traffic update brought to you by the American Association for Cancer Research. Well, as you're traveling 295 coming off the BW Parkway headed towards Route 50 or New York Avenue, you'll find it a good trip right now, everything running up to speed. No reported major problems as you're making your way into town across the 11th Street Bridge and the Southeast Southwest Freeway. Coming northbound on 395 across the 14th Street Bridge to and across the Case Bridge towards the 3rd Street Tunnel and beyond past South Capitol Street and the 11th Street Bridge. Eastbound on the Southeast Southwest Freeway, you'll find all your lanes open. Inbound Suitland Parkway, that looks pretty good right now as you're making your way past Branch Avenue and Stanton Road. And coming into the city by way of the Douglas Bridge, all your lanes are open. Past Nats Park on South Capitol Street and passing the McDonald's there, you'll find all your lanes open and no reported problems in the way. We do have some reports of some problems on the top side of the Beltway through Montgomery County, outer loop, after the 95 interchange in Georgia Avenue did have activity reported around University Boulevard, so use caution, and also a stalled out flatbed truck in the roadway, possibly, as you make your way towards 355. Now on DC 295, coming off of the Woodrow Wilson Bridge and headed up towards the 11th Street Bridge, you'll find all your lanes open and starting to see some building volume at Laboratory Road, so watch out for that. The American Association for Cancer Research, finding cures together. Please support cancer research by donating today at www.aacrfoundation.org. Your weather for today, well, we expect sunny skies, highs near 80 tonight, lows dipping into the 60s, highs both days on Thursday and Friday in the low to mid 80s, and lows both days in the 60s in the city, upper 50s in the suburbs, now 65 degrees in Washington. I'm Jim Lavin on 1450 AM WOL, where information is power.
Real Talk Radio in the AM. The #1 morning show. #1 on everybody listen. Carl Nelson on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for staying with us 23 away from the top of the hour with Brother Tyrike, a researcher, trying to connect the dots with the Pope's meeting with the president today and the fact that we've got a bloody moon coming up, as he called it. And what does it all mean? And all of these things are happening at the same time. Is it a coincidence? Brother Tyrike says it's not. And for the brother who called in, or the tweeter who asked about Thompson Oil, another tweeter just tweeted and says, in regard to Thompson Oil, that 60 Minutes did a piece on this many years ago. He says you may be able to look it up on YouTube. So there is some reports of Thompson Oil. So, Brother Tyrike, I'm going to let you finish talk about the Rockefellers, how they got started with Standard Oil, and you Standard Oil now, Rockefeller, and you go to New York, folks, you're Rockefeller Center, and he was Governor Rockefeller. And it's all over. They're all over the place. But anyway, I'm going to let you finish.
Well, yeah, what I was mentioning was the fact that during the 1920s is when, actually, right after the turn of the century, when the Rockefellers were consolidating their power throughout the country, Rockefeller had all the books taken from the book depository in Texas, sent back over to England, and all rewritten, and then sent back over here and put into all the schools. That's why we have his story in our schools rather than our story. And they consolidated their power during that time and up to the 20s when they turned in the petroleum waste was turned into the pharmaceuticals, or the pharmaceuticals as they call them. I call them pharmaceuticals because that's what they do mostly. And the Rockefellers also established the public food system here in this country with the bringing over here of the Schule from Dresden and Leipzig, Germany. That is what became the actual public school system. I call it the public food system because that's what they've turned out over these past 100 years here is a bunch of public fools. And that's why we don't know our story, and that's why we don't know that this whole idea of race came out of the Catholic Church of Iberia, when in that big debate that I was talking about earlier between Bishop de Sepulveda and Bishop de las Casas, where they decided that the sins of the people that they were coming into contact were so grave that they were not even fit to convert into the faith. And that's when they threw the policy of thou shalt not kill thrown out the window by the Catholic Church in the 1450s, in the 1550s, excuse me. And so, we then learned that after that period where the Moors were thrown out of Europe or Europa and sent back onto the continent, and that's when this whole concept of race became a tool used to decimate populations around the world by the Catholic Church. And here we are in the blood moon period of the world, and here we have the Jesuit Pope coming here to tell the people here what to do and how to act and what to do, and to speak before the United Nations again. And all these.
Let me interrupt you and ask you. You think he's here specifically to give some marching orders to President Obama?
Well, I think that they're here to try. I consider both Obama and the Pope and the City of London people, the bankers, the banksters. That these are the ones who are here to try to. I call them the cabal, and this is the cabal attempting to keep its power, and so you're going to see and you're going to hear Pope Francis telling people here in this country what they should be doing as far as climate change and as far as a lot of different elements that the Pope has stood for about helping the poor and so forth and so on, and it's in contradiction at the same time to what the cabal wants, is to consolidate its power. And so you're seeing at the same time an attempt to consolidate power, and then the battle between those that are up in the power sphere, you see. And so what we have internationally with this global currency reset is the callback. This is what they call the callback period, where all these loans are called in. You're going to see once again how the banksters are going to crash the economy, because the bubble that was going on before is still going on. They never stopped doing what they were doing after the crisis of 2008. It's actually gotten worse.
I got a tweet question for you, Brother Tyrike. The person wants to know, why did the Moors teach the Europeans anything at all? Why did the Moors have to do with enslaving Africans? Did the Moors have anything to do with enslaving Africans?
Yes, in fact, they did. And once they were removed because of the internecine battling between the science Moors and the religious Moors, they were then kicked out of Iberia, and many of them went back into the Songhai Empire and helped to disrupt that, and then disrupt a lot of the activity that was going on in the north of Africa and on the west of Africa. And a lot of them were involved, as Dr. Anderson has so well pointed out, were involved in the trade of African people. So a lot of the so-called enslavement process was done by so-called Arabs, or people who claim to speak Arabic. Or the language.
And that was going to be my question. Your definition of what is a Moor, because some people have said the Moors were just like light-skinned brothers and sisters. You're saying they weren't, or they were Arabs, or what?
No, well, the Moors were both. The Moors were a spectrum of people, from the dark to the light. But that had to do with whether or not they were into the science or they were into the religion. And you had the Almohads and the Almoravids in the Iberian Peninsula. The Almoravids were the ones, the science Moors. They would build everything up, and then the Almohads would come in and tear everything down. And there was this constant battling between them, which was eventually exploited by the Germans, or the what we call Europeans, which they're not. We were the original Europeans, the Grimaldi of the dark-skinned people, because there were no people like the Yids and all these people of northern the Caucasus Mountains and all these people, the Khazars and all these people. They didn't even exist on the planet until 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. So prior to that, most people on the planet were melanated people of the various shades, and that's what we see when the Moors were kicked out of Europe and sent back into Africa, and this is how they destroyed some of the empires that were there and helped to bring about the enslavement of African people.
All right, hold that thought right there. We got to step aside for a couple of announcements. When we come back, we'll take some phone calls for you. Folks, you too can get in on the discussion with Brother Tyrike. Reach out to us. It's really easy. It's simple. It's toll-free. It's nationwide. 800-450-7876. Again, it's 800-450-7876. Two calls are next on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Remember when a small business needed a landline? Today, the world is your office with Grasshopper, the entrepreneur's phone system. On the road, at the beach, or at home, Grasshopper helps you grow your business with all the features of a business phone system and the freedom of a cell phone. Features include multiple extensions for your team, calls forwarded to your mobile phones, voicemails transcribed and emailed, and so much more. See how it works at grasshopper.com, the entrepreneur's phone system.
This is Barbara Arnwine. Be sure to tune in to Igniting Change every Tuesday from noon to 1 on WOL 1450 AM. I will provide provocative and empowering information to ignite change and inspire action in achieving racial justice and equality. It really is up to all of us to be and to ignite the change that we so desperately want to see in our neighborhoods, communities, our cities, our states, our nation, and the world. Each week, I want you to join me and my special guests to learn how your activism matters in realizing a more just and equal society for all. Ignite change with me every Tuesday from 12 to 1 p.m. Together, we can make a difference. Visit barbaraarnwine.com for more information.
When the need arises for a funeral repast or a place to hold a memorial service for your loved one, call the New Horizon Hall of Elegance, located at 2209 Vernon Street, Mount Rainier, Maryland. They will take the worry out of you having to handle one more detail, giving you time to focus on family and friends. Call 301-277-5922 to find out more. That's 301-277-5922. That's the New Horizon Hall of Elegance, ready to serve you in your time of need.
You wanted to be a teacher when you were little, but as you grew up, things changed. Teaching just didn't seem like the best option anymore, so you decided to become something else. But what would your 12-year-old self say? Interesting and innovative things are happening in teaching today, so it's time to put it back on your list. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. You had it right the first time.
Find out how you can make more at teach.org. Make more. Teach. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
And now for the number one play of the week. You couldn't ask for a better finish.
He moves left. He sees an opening. He's at the designated driver booth, and it looks like he's pledging. He's going to make sure his friends and family buckle up and get home safely. With that play, the designated driver's one step closer to following his favorite team to the Super Bowl, because responsibility has its rewards. To find out more, visit the designated driver booth at the stadium or www.rhir.org.
A message from this station and Team Coalition.
Your voice can now be heard.
Y'all ready?
Yeah. With Carl Nelson weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for staying with us 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Just want to remind you, Dr. Wilson is going to stop by later this morning. She's going to explain what she means when she says that we need a new black attitude, a new mindset to achieve all the goals that we're setting for ourselves. Right now, with the researcher, Brother Tyrike. He's connecting the dots, folks, about the Pope's visit, the the New World Order some people talk about. He's talking about the next week at the UN. All the world leaders are going to be in town. There's going to be a blood moon. And today also is the start of a fall. And also today is one of the highest Jewish holidays, Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur. 800-450-7876. Is it coincidence? Your thoughts. Let's go to line 2. Bobby's joining us from Philly. Pope's going to be in Philadelphia too. Bobby, you're on with Brother Tyrike.
Hey, brothers. First of all, Brother Tyrike, you're absolutely right. The only thing that you haven't told him is that this is an unholy alliance that's actually being taken place in 2 different parts of the world. Let me catch up a little bit. First, Dr. Philip I. Imhotep wrote a book that says that Africans were the first Americans. That will actually give understanding as to Africans' ability to navigate all over the world. You spoke about the Moors in Europe. They failed to realize that the Moors got contaminated with greed and deception before they came back to Africa, and that's what they brought back into Africa, which literally was the proliferation of the slave trade. But make no mistake, the Jews financed a lot of the slave trade, all right? And the Arabs literally were slave dealers. They were literally collecting and doing the middleman part. The Pope in the United States and speaking to the UN is a public declaration of the New World Order. And that is the principle behind him being here, to show the world that there's an alliance between these 3 groups, the Vatican, the financiers, and the American war power. But yet, on the other side of the country, on the other side of the world, the Zionists and the communists are also having a declaration of letting the world know that they also are in unison. So my question to you is, when do you think, and we know world war is imminent, well, when do you think that will take place?
Brother Tyrike? Have we lost Brother Tyrike?
Hello, hold on.
Okay.
We
lost you for a second. Did you hear all of what Bobby said?
I heard everything, and I was going to answer it. I said that this unholy alliance that he speaks of, which is which he spoke of, I spoke of earlier, between the runaway state of Rome, actually it's the Holy Roman Empire of Catholic and Protestant Moors, which was the real the Holy Roman Empire. The runaway state of Rome was just a runaway state, and they're the ones who proliferated a lot of this enslavement of people. But then later on, it became controlled by the British, the French, and the colonial powers, especially Spain and Portugal, through the use of what the Moors left behind once they were ejected out of Iberia. So I see a part of what we're seeing now is a prelude to World War III. Actually, World War III is already going on because this arrival of the Pope here at this particular time to speak in front of the United Nations, and it's just like the brother said, it's going to be they're going to try to put a nice face on, but they're not going to be able to consolidate their power. So I think.
All right, and Bobby, out there, we hung up on you accidentally, so call us back if need be. Brother Tyrike, connecting all these dots, why is it that the universe has to do with it? Couldn't they meet at a different time? Is this something? I want to use the word Luciferian because that's what Mark from Anaheim says that these fellows are all involved with. But couldn't they use it? Couldn't they have met, say, at a different time? Did they specifically pick this particular time of the year because of that? Mark from Anaheim says they're all Luciferian. They do things like that. But your thoughts?
They do things. They all do things based upon the heavens and what's in the heavens and how the heavens are interpreted. And they do everything by astrotheology. That's one of the things that they do, and that's why they're acting on this shmitah, which is a 7-year cycle that's been going on since the crash of 1929. And so, this is all connected back to, again, who owns the land, and since 1928, when the Pan American Conference met and all the land from Argentina to Alaska, the mandate for all that land was given to Noble Drew Ali instead of the American representative that was there, the U.S. representative, the U.S. representative. So, it is all in line with what's in the heavens, and then they do things on Earth in these particular times and time zones, and they're using these various oaths that they take. For example, we talked about the Day of Atonement. Well, they have an oath that they use. It's called the Kol Nidre, and that Kol Nidre is an oath that allows them to deceive people and make them think that they're atoning when in fact they're not. They're actually working to consolidate their power to rule the world. And people can see this very clearly in the video, that's on YouTube, called "The Other Israel," and it's by Reverend Ted Pike, a Christian minister who really goes in and documents what this whole Zionist cabal is all about and how it works. And he doesn't interpret anything. He just has all those books and so forth translated, so you see exactly what it says there. So in these days, nothing is hidden. Everything is in our face. If you are willing to look for it and look at it, you will see this. See these different aspects of things going on right now.
Well, let me interrupt you and ask you this. Do you think the average Jewish person now understands what you're talking about, or for them is it just, it's just Yom Kippur? It's just a holiday in Israel, and it's just a Day of Atonement. Do they connect the dots like you've connected the dots?
No, sir. It says, Mr. Hoffman says in his article that while less than a third of the Jews attend Yom Kippur services, and even fewer understand the prayer does provide insight into the true satanic nature of Judaism, which most Jews and Christians are oblivious to. It helps us to appreciate that the New World Order has succeeded largely because of deception, which is their most powerful weapon. And that's why the Kol Nidre is the oath that nullifies all oaths. So every year, they can stand there with their fingers crossed behind their backs and say any oaths that they took prior in last year are all nullified. You see, and that is the deception that they've been able to use and get people into being the lie or believing in, because the word believe has the word lie right in the middle of it. So this is the age to know, not the age to believe. This is not, the Piscean age is gone. We're now in the Aquarian age, and it is the age to know. And that's what's very important to our people now. We must know our story. We must know who we are. We must know that we are a nation, and our nationality is the most important thing. And
you mentioned that, is it the shmitah? Am I pronouncing it correctly? Every 7 years that something catastrophic happens?
Right.
But hold that thought right there, because my drummers are warming up, telling me we have a traffic report coming for our folks in DMV. And Lord knows they need it today with the Pope in town and all the road closures around the district. 800-450-7876, number to call. Speak to Brother Tyrike. We'll take your phone calls after this traffic update on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
This traffic report is brought to you by Horseshoe Casino Baltimore. Still have slow traffic on 295 from Burroughs South down to Pennsylvania Avenue. Capitol Beltway now getting jammed up from College Park around the outer loop toward Georgia Avenue, and slow on Route 50 inbound in Maryland from Columbia Park Road over toward Kenilworth Avenue. Guy Fieri's Baltimore Kitchen and Bar at Horseshoe. Baltimore specials daily 5 to 7 p.m. Know when to stop before you start. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now your WOL weather forecast. We have cloudy skies today with a high of 74 degrees, clearing tonight 59 the low, and 81 degrees tomorrow. Sunny skies, and the low tomorrow night 59 degrees. The weather report brought to you by the Virginia Department of Rail and Transportation. Caught in traffic? Try Transit. September 21st through 25th. Save time and money and register to win a year's free transit pass. Learn more at trytransitweek.org. I'm Jeff Newman for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Harbor Point Wealth Management assists retirees and pre-retirees in the creation of retirement strategies utilizing insurance products that provide guarantees backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing carrier. We are not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
Are you confident that you won't outlive your savings during retirement? Studies have shown that outliving their money in retirement is the #1 concern of most retirees. Karen Scott Mims, ESQ of Harbor Point Wealth Management, can help. She can offer a retirement income analysis that will answer your questions about retirement, including, will I have enough money to last? Will my spouse have enough money if I pass away? What rate of return will I need to average to avoid running low on money? And what impact would another downturn have on my retirement income? To get your income analysis, call Karen today, 866-621-6660, to receive your complimentary retirement income analysis. Call today, 866-621-6660.
Hi, this is Karen Scott Mims. If you're interested in tax-efficient retirement planning, give us a call at 866-621-6660.
Looking for a caterer to cater your next event? One that's professional, prepares great tasting food, provides a professional staff, and will create tailor-made menus and services to fit your needs and budget, and so much more? Then you have to call A Touch of Class Caterers at 301-449-2082. For 18 years, A Touch of Class has been one of the Washington metropolitan area's premier caterers, providing you nothing but the best for your next event. So whether it's a wedding, rehearsal dinner, church function, repast celebration, or just a private dinner for two, and you want a little more class and elegance to make the day even more special, call A Touch of Class Caterers today at 301-449-2082 and let them take care of the intimate details. That's A Touch of Class Caterers, ready to handle your next event with a touch of class and elegance. Call them today, 301-449-2082, or log on to www.we-cater-2u.com.
Every day I wake up at 5 to give Dad his medicine. Every day I wake up at 5 to give Dad his medicine. At 6 I make his breakfast. Every day I wake up at 5 to give Dad his medicine. At 6 I make his breakfast. At 7 I shower. Every day I wake up
For those caring for a loved one, we hear you. That's why AARP created a community to help us better care for ourselves and the ones we love. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
WOL Washington, WPRS HD2 Waldorf, WKYS HD2 Washington, WMNJ HD2 Bethesda, a Radio 1 station, and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. We're going deep all day today. Just to remind you that Dr. Wells is going to join us later. She says, some of you were listening when she said, we need a new black attitude, a new mindset to achieve all our goals. So she'll explain that. But before we get to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Brother Tyrike is here, researcher Brother Tyrike, and he says what's happening now is not by accident. Today is the first full day of fall. It's also Yom Kippur, one of the highest Jewish holidays, the Day of Atonement for the Jews. Also, the Pope is in town. He's going to meet with the President this morning at the White House, and then he's going on to Philly and then to New York, and he's going to address the United Nations. And he says all of this also, we'll have a what he calls a bloody moon is going to take place too. And he says all of this is not by accident. He's connecting the dots for us. You can help us out too by calling 800-450-7876. Let's go back to Bobby's. Call us back in Philly because we accidentally hung up on Bobby. Bobby, you have another question for Brother Tyrike?
Yeah, Brother Tyrike, I tell you, this is astonishing, brother, because people fail to realize that the stock market crashed in 29. The Twin Towers of 2000, 9/11, and the 2008, all of those were man-made. They were not cosmic connected. So we now know they were false flags. So could this be leveraging the shmitah to appear to be something that is not for another false flag?
Yeah, I believe that we're going to see a false flag, and they're going to try to do something major here during this time. But let me just add to what I was saying earlier about these people. When you want the information, you go to them. They put out the information. Dr. Henry Makow, his website is Henry Makow, MAKOW.com. You will find the article that I read from earlier by Michael Hoffman called Yom Kippur Gives Jews Permission to Deceive. And then also you can get the booklet. You can go online and look up the booklet by another Hoffman, which is called They Were White and They Were Slaves. And you will there see the real truth about the enslavement process that really went on, and who were the slaves and who were not. And also my website, or not website, but my email that you can email me and I can send you out information that I get all the time. You could also go to truthseeker.com. Truthseeker.com is a very important website to get information as to what's going on right now, especially the expose of Zionism and its importance in the world. And don't forget, folks, Dr. Benjamin Friedman in 1961 in New York City warned us about what is going on and what is taking place right now. And Dr. Benjamin Friedman told us about Zionism to be the thing that we should fear most, because they are the ones that are right in our face, but we don't see them. So that's what I have to say about that. And so, yes, we're looking at the big announcement that they're going to try to make and make it look pretty, but it's not going to be pretty, folks. And I suggest that people get their food and water stored, at least 3 to 5 days of food and water you must have stored at all times in your home, because if you don't, you're going to end up with a problem. If there is a major catastrophe, if there is an EMP weapon that goes off and stops all the electricity around the country, there's all kinds of things that can happen here coming up, folks. You got to be prepared for disaster, because the disaster is on its way.
Does it have to be disaster? Could it be some sort of decision that they make and be a sort of a delayed reaction? Because you've got all these world leaders coming to town or coming to New York City, right. A meeting at the UN, right. And the Pope is going to be there, a world leader himself. And could they, at this meeting they're going to have, not the meeting that they show us in the General Assembly, but the inner meeting, as Steve Coker likes to talk about, circles and inner circles.
Behind the meeting.
Right, the meetings behind the meetings, and when the decision makers, because the representatives from Chad or the Ukraine, they're not in those meetings at all. No, from those small countries, they're not in those meetings. But when they make these decisions, and does it have to be during this period, or could it be for later on? I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, a lot of the decisions are already made, and we're seeing the results of them right now. With the result of the United States military foreign policy in the world, General Wesley Clark announced when he retired from NATO, when he came back to the country, he announced that the Pentagon has and had a plan to take over 7 Arab countries and to cause what you see today, the massive refugee crisis that's going on in Syria, in Afghanistan, in Yemen, and in other parts of the so-called Middle East. But I always ask, where's the Middle West? It's called the West Asia, folks. It's Asia. It's not the Middle East. And so these are some of the questions we should be asking nowadays. Is what is going on here? Why is it that at this particular time we have all these world leaders going to meet here with the Pope, and how the Pope is going to for the first time come in, stand in front of Congress and start pointing fingers and telling the Congress that they better quit acting as if the climate change is not happening and what's going on in the world. And so we're going to see a lot of this stuff, and this is all the prelude, and actually we're in the war, but war isn't always boots on the ground, folks. There's a war going on for our minds, and then I know Dr. Frances Cress Welsing will be talking about that, and as she says, we must change our mindset. And if you don't know who you are and whose you are, then somebody else has got you. And if you don't know your story, our story, over his story, then you're going to be led down the path of destruction. And that's that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
800-450-7876 at 10 minutes after the hour. Let's go to line one. Brother Bay's joined us from D.C. Brother Bay, you're on with Brother Tyrike.
Brother Tyrike, Brother Carl Nelson.
Islamism.
Hey, the problem is, Noble Drawley has spoke about exactly the things that you talking about in 1913 that's taking place today. And a lot of people that I've been trying to explain that to, even when the Moors was over, old St. Patrick, all that, when I try to give them the information, they don't want it. Our people will not accept it if it comes from a regular Joe.
Right. Well, that's a problem in our community, sir. That's because we've been divided and ruled over for so long, and we want to try to assimilate into something, as Dick Gregory says, a filthy, racist, sexist, madhouse system. We're going to try to accommodate and be accommodationist to is nothing but a road to destruction. So if you don't know who you are.
Because you speak on Noble Drawley when he spoke about the destruction and when the ball was placed on Babylon. We're not talking about the Babylon of old. We're talking about the Babylon of new. And I'll take your answer off the line.
All right, I'll tell you what, Brother Bay, thank you for your call, and I'll let Brother Tyrike respond on the other side because we got to step aside for a traffic report for our folks in the DMV. And also, Brother Tyrike, somebody wants you to give the spelling for Henry McConn's website as well. Folks, as we mentioned, we have a traffic report coming up next, 12 minutes after the hour right here on WOL, and the Pope's in town, and a lot of road closures, so I know folks traveling the DMV want to hear this traffic report. We'll take your calls, though, for Brother Tyrike after the traffic on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Well, this update brought to you by Floormax. Right now, traffic very heavy on the outer loop of the Beltway. As you come out of Prince George's County into Montgomery County, you might want to avoid that area altogether. Got accident activity just after University Boulevard. Police and fire rescue on the scene. It has traffic jammed, getting around from College Park all the way to University Boulevard. So try and avoid that if you can. If you're coming into town by way of the Baltimore-Washington Parkway, no reported problems there. The usual volume approaching the split at New York Avenue and Route 50. And traveling southbound on DC 295, that's where you're going to find some building volume at Benning Road, getting over to East Capitol Street and beyond to Pennsylvania Avenue, but then it clears out getting to the 11th Street Bridge. To and across the eastbound side of the Southeast-Southwest Freeway coming off the 14th Street Bridge. No problems there as yet. Everything running very nicely. The usual delay getting into the tunnel. Northbound 3rd Street Tunnel did have the ramp to Massachusetts Avenue closed. We've got conflicting reports there. MPD reporting that it is open and DDOT reporting it's closed. That for construction activity. So take your pick, but use caution in any case. Through lanes getting to New York Avenue. Outbound, you're going to find no reported problem. Floormax, hurry this week only. 50% off wood floors, free financing until 2018. Hurry this week only. 50% off carpeting with free delivery and installation at Floormax. Washington weather, well, not looking too shabby right now. Everything running very nicely as far as the weather's concerned. I wish traffic could be the same. Sunny skies later today, highs near 80 tonight, lows dipping into the 60s, highs both days, Thursday and Friday, in the low to mid 80s, lows both days in the 60s. So good sleeping weather, open the windows, upper 50s in the suburbs for the lows. Now 65 degrees in Washington. I'm Jim Lavin with your WOL 1450 AM traffic and weather. WOL, where information is power.
To the insurance company I'm leaving behind. You've scorned me for the last time. I've met another who makes me sing like a lark with the first morning dew. It happened all so quickly. In just 15 minutes, Geico swept me into a loving car insurance embrace and saved me hundreds of dollars and sleepless nights. Now I needn't worry if you'll be receptive to my automobile needs. Geico will be there for me in all the ways you never could. Regards, Sylvia in Silver Spring.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. The following is a serious Geico commercial.
Geico's been perfecting car insurance for over 75 years, and that's not silly. There's nothing wacky about Geico's commitment to innovation, like their award-winning mobile app that helps you manage your policy and process claims. Nothing to chuckle about there. And of course, Geico could save you hundreds on car insurance, which should tickle your money bone, not your funny bone.
Geico, saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years.
Hey, listen, next time you're hungry, stop by Tori's Restaurant. That's right, Northwest V Street and Georgia Avenue, right across the street from Howard University Hospital. Tori's Restaurant. Tori's Restaurant. Now, if you like good food, then this is where you need to be. Tori's Restaurant. They got breakfast all day, low country cuisine, also lump crab cakes, short ribs, and a whole lot more. And they got this daily special. Mondays, Ask the Chef Day. Wednesday, beef liver with onions and gravy. Thursday, meatloaf with gravy. Friday, fried whiting with hush puppies. 2 sides, bread, iced tea, lemonade, or mix. Ask about our catering service, too. Call ahead for carryout. 202-462-3700. Tori's Restaurant, 700 V Street at Georgia Avenue, Northwest D.C. Right in front of Howard University Hospital. That's Tori's Restaurant, 202-462-3700. Real Talk Radio in the AM. Carl Nelson on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. Our guest is Brother Tyrike, and the number to call to reach Brother Tyrike again is 800-450-7876, 15 after the hour. And I just want to remind you, you can now go to the WOL website, which is WOLDCnews.com, and you can get a copy if you missed yesterday's show, so they just started it, so it's up there. Because I know people have been calling and wanting to get the podcast, was Kevin has finally hooked it up. So just go to the WOLDC News website, and if you missed anything, you can just get the podcast from there. 800-450-7876. Brother Tyrike, you want to respond to, I think it was a tweet question about the spelling, Henry McCon?
Yeah, Henry Makow is MAKOW.com. Henry Makow at .com. That's his website. And you'll find the article by Michael Hoffman on Yom Kippur. And also truthseeker.com, which is a great website out of England from the Yiddish British over there, and they expose what's going on, such as what Dr. Benjamin Friedman did in 1961. Anybody want to find out what I'm talking about? Go to your smartphone, ask Siri about Dr. Benjamin Friedman's speech from 1961. You'll get it. And just like any other information you need, you can find out. The brother asked also about Noble Drew Ali in 1913. And Noble Drew Ali came forth in 1913 and set up the Moorish Holy Temple of Science and of the world, and also the Moorish Science Temple of the world, and turned this movement into a movement of nationality, because nationality should be the question of the day for our people, and we will get away from this Negro, black, and colored thing that continually punish us for using terms about ourselves that are not true, and it causes actually a psychosis every time we use this word black, which actually the etymology of the word means bleached out and pale. So how can we call ourselves bleached out and pale and not refer to ourselves as Moorish Americans as we are? See, that's the psychosis that we have in our people, and that's why when you continually use things and cause things and think and believe in things that you don't understand, I believe it was our great musician Stevie Wonder who said to us, if you believe in things you don't understand, you're going to suffer. And that's superstition. And that's one of our main problems we have in our people, is that we are so full of superstition and idiocy about who we are. And that's why we suffer.
All right, 800-450-7876. Go to line 3. Brother Darren is joining us from B-More. Brother Darren, you're on with Brother Tyrike.
Yeah, good morning. Peace to you, Brother Carl, and peace to Brother Tyrike. Enjoying the conversations, brother. Yes, sir. Just wanted to add one other caveat. I am familiar with many of those sources that you talked about, from Henry McCow, the Truth Seekers, to definitely Reverend Ted Pike, and some of the other ones like Michael Collins, Piper, and I can't think of the other one that just passed recently, was exposing a lot of that as well. Nevertheless, I want to add another caveat to this. Of course, all of this is taking place along the 33rd parallel ley line. D.C., of course, 33rd parallel. Philadelphia, 33rd parallel. New York City, 33rd parallel. Right? Yes, sir. I think the other thing we have to look at is it also comes right after the end of what's called Magna Carta, the 800-year rule of treaty, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So clearly with this Magna Carta, they're looking to put forth a new treaty. And I believe that many of these treaties that they're looking to push, as you're talking about at the UN, that the Pope will push, since he is the white Pope, he's not the black Pope. And I think that's the other caveat we have to look at and share with the sheeple as far as the Obama's chain of command, or I think his brother, how can I forget his name? But our great elder did a presentation and laid out Obama People's Masters, looking at the chain of command of really who controls Obama and who controls the white Pope. I think.
So Brother Darren, does he have to kiss the ring? Because we heard that's some sort of ritual that they do.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, they have to kiss the ring. So, and I think we have to throw in, of course, that this is bigger than the Jesuits. This ties into, of course, Freemasonry, ties into the Knights of Malta, as well as tying into some other groups as well that we haven't, I think, touched on. But this Magna Carta Treaty, we've seen, of course, not what Jay-Z talked about, but he was laying it out there. They've laid it out in your culture. They laid it out in many of your so-called award programs, putting it out there in front of the sheeple. It's truth hidden right in front of the people. But this Magna Carta is a new treaty that they will lay on the humanity, and it ties into the Trans-Pacific Free Trade Agreement, the Trans-Pacific, the Transatlantic, as well as the Trans-Pacific TPA. So all of this ties into what we're looking at right now, Brother Carl, and it's being laid out. So I just wanted to
you know what, Brother Darren and Brother Tyrike, there was a power outage on the Metro power outage last night when the Pope arrived, and all of this, the conspiracy folks are saying, wait a minute, what happened? Was that by accident or design? Did something go down as soon as the Pope gets to his place on Massachusetts Avenue? Then all the Metro having problems, stop working. So we never know. Yeah. Is it by accident or design? What do you fellas think?
Yeah.
Well, nothing happens by accident in this country, folks. Nothing happens by accident in this country, folks. Everything is planned. Here's a quick little go back. If you go back to when President McKinley was inaugurated, does anybody remember what happened to him? Well, he got assassinated. He got assassinated, and guess who stepped in as president, or accident? I mean, Teddy Rosenfeld stepped in and became that president, and then his cousin later on became accident as well. And so, and both of those presidencies brought about major catastrophes in the world and world war. So remember, folks, it's not what you see, it's what you don't see. And most of it is right in our face.
Yes. Yeah. And I want to add, last week, Brother Carl, in the New York Times, they mentioned that in New York City, they had a tabletop exercise last Monday. 48 agencies. This was run by the CIA, the FBI, Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security, Coast Guard, FCC, the Department of Justice, Customs and Border Protection. Con Edison was in on it, Verizon was in on it, and even the Vatican was in on it. So they usually don't run these tabletop exercises for nothing, brother.
No,
so
wow.
Every time they have one of these exercises, things happen. They had a big exercise in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, and the FBI then reported that nobody died in Sandy Hook. So why don't you go look that up, folks? Because if you believe that all those children died in Sandy Hook, then I got a bridge I can sell you out here in the Mojave Desert.
And last point I wanted to make, of course, this comes as the president of China is on the West Coast. So many said this could be Gog and Magog, but he's on the West Coast. And I think the other part is that this is the 266th Pope, and he's here on the 266th day of the year. So that's no accident, brother.
All this is tied together. They're going by the numbers, folks, and they're going by the heavens. And we're down here on Earth acting like nothing's happening. It's like, wait a minute, time to wake up.
No, because we don't know. And again, I mentioned Mark from Anaheim says these guys are Satanists. They believe in that kind of stuff in that culture. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in Christianity. They don't believe in Hinduism or any other kind of religion. That's why they do the things they do, to coincide with nature, because they believe that it gives them a hands up in doing what they're doing. But I'm going to ask you this, because Brother Darren mentioned about economics and money. Does anything with the dollar and the BRICS nations have anything to do with what's going on now?
Well, definitely. Remember, folks, we have a currency reset coming up, and the U.S. dollar, the petrodollar in the world, is no longer acceptable by over 100.
All right, hold that thought there, because we got to take this quick break. I'm going to let you finish on that. Brother Dan, you can stay with us if you want. 800-450-7876. We're 24 minutes after the hour, discussing with Brother Tyrike what this all means with the Pope coming to town and the new moon, and also Yom Kippur and all these other things. It's not by coincidence. He's connecting the dots for us. We'll take your calls after this short break as the big show rolls on from the capital city on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Moving today or tomorrow and not sure who to call? Well, your worries are over. Ted's Moving and Hauling at 301-254-8221 is your one-stop place to call when you need to move from your apartment, home, or office. Ted's Moving and Hauling is one of the best, with experience and professional movers to handle all your needs with no job too large or too small. Ted's can do it all. Call now to find out more. 301-254-8221. That's 301-254-8221. Need something hauled away? Ted can do that too. Ted's Moving and Hauling is one of the best, and with some of the best prices in town. So, if you need to move uptown, downtown, or out of town, call Ted's Moving and Hauling today at 301-254-8221. That's 301-254-8221. That's Ted's Moving and Hauling. Moving you from your home, office, or church. Call Ted's today at 301-254-8221.
My name is Andrea Lee Greenberg. I walk for Autism Speaks because my son Tyler is the single most important person in my life.
Walk now for Autism Speaks. To find a walk near you, visit walknowforautismspeaks.org.
When the need arises for a funeral repast or a place to hold a memorial service for your loved one, call the New Horizon Hall of Elegance, located at 2209 Vernon Street, Mount Rainier, Maryland. They will take the worry out of you having to handle one more detail, giving you time to focus on family and friends. Call 301-277-5922 to find out more. That's 301-277-5922. That's the New Horizon Hall of Elegance, ready to serve you in your time of need.
Hi, I'm Nick Jonas. Think It Up with support from Staples for Students. It's a new initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join us at staplesforstudents.org.
Real Talk Radio in the AM.
The #1 morning show. #1 on everybody list.
Carl Nelson on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for rolling with us this morning, folks. Brother Tyrike is our guest. We're 28 minutes after the hour and discussing what this all means with the Pope coming to town. If you're in D.C., you know, because of the traffic's a mess. He's going to be in Philadelphia, and he's going to be in New York. He's going to address the General Assembly of the United Nations. And they say that this is a special time of the year. Today is the first day of autumn, the first day of fall. It's also Yom Kippur, the Jewish holiday. It's the Day of Atonement for the Jews. And it's the, am I pronouncing it correctly? Shmitah is going on, Brother Tyrike? Shmitah. Anyway, you say there's going to be a global economic reset. Petrodollars are no longer going to be used, or what? What's the deal?
That's correct. The deal is that there are 197 nations now who are behind the BRICS, working together with the BRICS, the British.
Brazil, Russia, India, and China.
The Chinese, the Russians, the Brazilians. Not the British, the Brazilians.
Russia.
And these 197 nations have united in their program to return to the Moors all the stuff that was taken from them back in the day. And so this economic reset is very important, folks. The United States petrodollar is no longer accepted around the world in 197 nations. And the U.S. dollar, which is nothing more than a debt instrument, and you cannot be buying things with debt instruments because you're only getting the use of them. You're not getting the ownership. So all this is going to change, folks, and we're going to have outside of the United States, you're not going to be able to spend dollars like you did before. So we better get ready.
Well, let me ask you this: could the BRIC nations could you see problems on the horizons then for this for the core of the BRIC nations? Brazil, Russia, was it India? Who's China?
India, China, South Africa.
In South Africa, do you see problems on the horizons for them? I mean, here they are trying to start a new game. They're challenging the United States and not the United States alone, actually, because as we mentioned, the people of you mentioned the Vatican, and you mentioned London, the city of London, the financial district in London, it used to be on Bond Street. You know, that was the equivalent of Wall Street, but now they moved it out of Bond Street. But did you see any blowback for these countries for doing what they're trying to do?
Well, yeah, this is why they're pushing the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the Transatlantic Trade Partnership, as the brother was mentioning earlier, that they're doing this in order to set up the future, their future, which, like I say, if you go back to 1961 to Benjamin Franklin's speech in New York, you're going to see that he told us back then what to look for and what to watch out for. And we saw a lot of it in 2001 in New York City. When they talk about the Twin Towers, don't forget, folks, Building 7, which was not hit by a plane, fell down too at 5:20 in the afternoon. And nobody wants to talk about that. And that was the building that housed the FBI, the CIA, all the information about all of the destruction and theft that was going on in the Securities and Exchange Commission. There was an investigatory agency there with all the information. And then the 13th floor was where the New York City had its emergency management set up. And that building was taken down at 5:20 in the afternoon in a typical implosion, and yet no one talks about it. No one everybody acts as if that never happened. You know.
Right. Brother Darren, you have anything you want to add before I let you go?
No, I mean, I agree with you in terms of what you said with BRICS. Everything that's been going on in the stock market is to go after BRICS and what they call the emerging nations. That's what the fight is all about right now. They've been targeting, of course, Brazil, Russia, India, and China with what's been going on. Of course, accusing China of what they call hacking. So all of that is only going to increase, as our brother said. World War III has already begun. But at the UN, the Pope will be talking about sustainability, which really means depopulation. You got to be able to decode the language, as our brother is talking about.
There you go.
About a 2030 plan, and many of us are familiar with, of course, what is there on the 33rd parallel in Georgia, which is, of course, the guide stones, talking about a 2069 plan within America, which calls for depopulation of certain of course, those inside the confines of this country and those on the planet right now. This will all be tied into what the Pope's going to be talking about. Bigger than climate change, he'll be talking about a carbon tax. So this is all part of what they're going to unleash on the people right now, while they're giving the people distractions and diversions.
Well, let me ask both of you guys this, because recently came out that China was having problems in their economy. Think anything on the hand was going on down right there? Because their economy was percolating, bubbling along, and all of a sudden now they've got problems.
Well, they're going to have problems because they're doing a lot of the same things that were done over here. But nonetheless, they are in full control. Not full control, but they have enough control of things going on over there, and they are fighting back constantly. They're dumping the U.S. dollars. They're dumping the U.S. bonds that they had, because they're using that to buy gold. And so if they're buying gold, they just bought 600 tons of gold in China here recently. So is the economy going down? I don't think so. But they want you to believe all this stuff because as long as you be the lie, they got you.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That's what's going on.
Absolutely.
All right, Brother Dan, anything you want to add before we let you go?
No, I just thank the brother for sharing this information, and thank you, Brother Carl. Just keep up the good work, and I just tell people keep an open mind, as our brother said, and definitely stock up on those what we would call survival kits, because you don't know what's going to happen when this reset goes down. It may go down between now and some say October the 7th, so kind of keep your eyes open and definitely keep your minds open and get out of them televisions, So this is real news right here that you're listening to, brother. If you listen from Fox and those other outlets to give it to you, you're not going to get it. You're going to miss it. So thank you, brother.
All right, thank you, brother Darren. Brother Darren is also master researcher up in Baltimore, brother Tyrike. A lot of the stuff that you do, he got to speak to brother Darren.
Let me give out my contact information right away so that people can get on my mailing list and my email list because, I get information all the time from around the world, from the resources that I've built up over the years. And my email is wellness, ENTIALS, wellnessentials at DSLextreme.com. And,
all right, you want to do that one more time?
Yeah, wellness, WELLNESS, ENTIALS, wellnessentials at DSLextreme.com. And my telephone number, you can text me your email, and I will put you on my list and send out documentation about the things that I speak about and the things that I've researched over the many years.
All right. We have a news report coming up shortly. 800-450-7876. Again, 800-450-7876. It's the number to call. Speak to Brother Tyrike. Do we have time for another call, or do we have to go to the news? Kevin? Okay, let's take another call then. Let's go to line one. Let's go to Mike in Columbus. Mike?
Good morning, Carl. Yes.
Yeah, can you get closer to the phone, Mike? Sound very far away.
How's that, Billy?
No, it's still the same, but if you can get in a better spot.
He's on the road. Yeah, he's on the road.
Yeah, I know he's on the road. I tell you what, hang on, Mike. Fix that phone because we got to take the news report now. We'll talk to you when we get back on the other side. Folks, you too can join the conversation with Brother Tyrike like Mike did from Columbus. Reach out to us. It's real easy. It's simple. It's toll-free. It's nationwide. 800-450-7876. That's 800-450-7876. 24 minutes before the top of the hour. We'll take your calls after this news report on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
This report brought to you by Unbound. Unbound sponsorship fights poverty by strengthening human connections and nurturing interdependency. That's just one way Unbound is different. Learn more at unbound.org. An Upper Marlboro man pleaded guilty yesterday to a reduced charge, involuntary manslaughter, in the shooting death 2 years ago of a PG County police officer. It happened after Antoine James got into an argument with his stepfather, Joseph Newell, at their home on Green Moss Drive. James will be sentenced today to 10 years in prison. Marylanders who use public transportation to get to D.C. jobs need to check the MTA's website for updated service announcements. Adjustments are being made to accommodate the papal visit. Governor Hogan, who's being treated for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, says to meet the Pope tomorrow and will seek his prayers and blessings for cancer patients everywhere. Organizers say registration for next month's Baltimore Marathon is off by 10%, and they point to the riots following the police custody death of Freddie Gray.
I think it's pretty fair to connect the dots on this. Also, we've had a number of phone calls and emails, and then people always want to talk to us, about the safety of the city.
Baltimore Running Festival owner Lee Corrigan says he's hoping to attract more local runners to take the place of out-of-towners who are staying away. A judge in Northern Virginia has ruled still photographers will be allowed at the trial of accused Alexandria serial killer Charles Severance, but no TV cameras. The trial is scheduled to start in 2 weeks. Severance is charged with 3 murders over 10 years. The Orioles beat the Nationals 4-1. Nats manager Matt Williams.
Had chances, yeah. That's again, make pitches when you need to, and I don't know, we had 3 hits or something. Didn't have many, so we had some fly balls. We had some chances. Didn't come through tonight. We've been coming through a lot lately, but not tonight.
O's pitcher Ubaldo Jimenez allowed only 1 unearned run and 3 hits over 6 innings. This report brought to you by Unbound. At Unbound, they don't see poverty, they see potential. That's just one way Unbound is different. Learn more at unbound.org. I'm John Lewis. When you're looking for news from Black America, go to newsone.com.
This update brought to you by Columbia Bank. Well, right now, traveling southbound on the Baltimore-Washington Parkway, crossing the 50 interchange and passing New York Avenue, you'll find it a good trip. We do have some slowdowns, some building volume as you approach Benning Road and making your way to East Capitol Street. Then after that, you're good to go. It starts to break up after Pennsylvania Avenue, getting to the 11th Street Bridge. To and across the westbound side of the Southeast-Southwest Freeway, did have a report of an accident in the area of 6th and 7th Streets, so watch out for that. Eastbound freeway, definitely some accident activity blocking the 2 left lanes after you pass the 3rd Street Tunnel. You will be able to get into the 3rd Street Tunnel, and if you do, northbound 3rd Street Tunnel, getting up to Massachusetts Avenue, all lanes are open. The ramp to Massachusetts Avenue likewise open as well. And getting up to New York Avenue using the through lanes, you'll find everything running up to speed. No reported problems inbound on New York Avenue. Of course, the building volume that we normally see coming past the Times Building and approaching Bladensburg Road and West Virginia, Montana Avenues. Then after that, as you pass the Brentwood Parkway overpass and 9th Street, getting to Florida Avenue, you're going to find some building volume there as well. And there again, approaching the 3rd Street Tunnel. No reported incidents or accidents in the way. At your local branch, online and on the go, the Columbia Bank offers solutions designed to meet your personal banking needs. Pay a visit today and experience how the Columbia Bank can do more for you. Washington weather, sunny skies, highs near 80 later today. A little breezy tonight, lows dipping into the 60s. Thursday and Friday, highs both days in the low to mid 80s, lows both days in the 60s. Good sleeping weather, now 68 degrees in Washington. And for WOL, AM 1450, where I'm Jim Lavin, where WOL is information and information is power.
Your voice can now be heard.
Y'all ready?
Yeah. With Carl Nelson weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. And our guest is researcher Brother Tyrike, and he says what's going down the next few days. Not by accident. He's connecting the dots for us. As most folks know, the Pope is in town, or they're going to be at the White House from his residence of Massachusetts Avenue. He's going to meet with President Obama. Today is also Yom Kippur, one of the highest of Jewish holidays, the Day of Atonement for Jews who observe. And also, the Pope's going to Philly, then he's going to New York. He's going to address the world body, the General Assembly at the United Nations. And that's I think that's on Monday. So all the world leaders are going to be in town. And also, Brother Tyrike says we have a bloody moon, what is called a bloody moon. So all these things are taking place, and some other stuff taking place too. And he mentioned the shmitah, and I know I'm messing up that word. That's something happens catastrophically every 7 years. He mentioned the last 7 years ago it was the economy tanked, and before that it was 9/11. So these things sometimes they by accident, sometimes by design. As one of our callers, Bobby from Philly, said, was it a false flag? Will they make another false flag happen this time around? But you've got to be aware. We just want you to be aware, folks, not to alarm anybody. Just want you to be aware. Again, the number to call to speak to Brother Tyrike is 800-450-7876. Let's try Mike again in Columbus. Hopefully we got a better connection. Mike? Is Mike there?
Is that better? Is that better?
No, but make it quick for us then so we can move on.
Yeah, my question is, knowing all that we know, what are we going to do to counteract the system that they plan on reinventing and recreating? Knowing what we know, we must try not to become like them and change the system. My other question is, what did they do with the artifacts that were in the Grand Canyon, and I understand taken to the Smithsonian Museum?
All right. Brother Tyrike, did you hear the question?
I heard something about the Grand Canyon and the Smithsonian Museum.
He said, "What's to do with the artifacts that were found in the Grand Canyon?" And his first question is, "What do we do now that we know all this information? What can we do?" And Mike, thanks for your call.
What are we going to do?
Wow.
Yeah, because you got a horrible line. Mike, thanks for your call. Go ahead, Brother Tyrike.
Yeah. Well, definitely we must prepare ourselves for a long stretch. We must prepare ourselves for catastrophe because obviously what's going on right now is going to put us in a very bad position. We're already in a bad position, even though we accumulate over $1 trillion every year and spend most of it right here. We really have to get ourselves together, folks, and prepare ourselves for the coming days. And they're going to be dark days, folks. They never forget that this country interned 120,000 Japanese Americans in 1942, and And those camps, many of them are still available, still open, still kept up, and many more have been built since then. And so even General Wesley Clark, again, he made a statement saying that if Americans are found not to be patriotic, this is where they should go. They should be put in work camps. And so these camps are available, folks. You can find this information out, and you better get yourselves together and be aware of what's going on. Because if you're not aware of what's going on, you're gonna end up in a very problematic situation. And this is what we've been telling people. I've been telling people here this in Los Angeles since the 1980s, back in KJLH days, when we talked about earthquake preparedness and disaster preparedness. I've been pushing this issue since the 90s, when I was on Stevie Wonder Station, KJLH with Carl. For almost 10 years, we talked about drinking water and having the proper water and having clean food and sustainability. And like the brother mentioned earlier about the Georgia Guidestones, folks, you ought to look up the Georgia Guidestones, because the number one thing on there says keep world population down to less than 500 million people. Well, wait a minute, folks. If there's 7 billion people on the planet, what is that really saying? So these are the kinds of things that we're trying to put forth for people to get the ideas and then see things that are happening rather than see the distractions and all the nonsense that's put in our face.
Right. And these other questions about some artifacts in the Grand Canyon.
Well, the artifacts in the Grand Canyon were put on display in the movie called National Treasure 2. If you want to see what that's all about. And those treasures, they're living off of a lot of that. And $25 million in gold was loaned to the United States government by the Moors in the 1800s and the 1870s. And so, we should be getting all of our money back, but they're not paying anybody back. They gave the Chinese had their gold over here. They ended up getting the gold back over there, just coated with tungsten. Tungsten was the content, and the gold was just coating it. And so the Germans have asked for their gold to be returned, and the United States says that they're not going to return the gold, and they're not even telling them where it is. And so there is a war ongoing, folks. The war is on, and the ones who have gold, and also I should mention that there's such a thing called the collateral accounts, folks. Look that up. Google that, collateral accounts. And you're going to find out that the Indonesians, the Filipinos, they have, and the Chinese have the masses of gold, so much gold that you can't even believe, that's supposed to be given back to the people. And this is a part of what Dr. Hendo Henderson and the World Court and the 197 BRICS nations that have united and said that they're no longer going to be accepting U.S. dollars. So all these things all coincide now, folks, and you must realize that these things are all happening, and if you are going to survive, you're going to have yourself prepared, and to be prepared, you must have at least, well, Noble Drew Ali told us back in the 1920s that we should at least have 3 months worth of foodstuffs, and water stored in case something happens. And this was a warning last century, not this century, by Noble Drew Ali.
All right, 800-450-7876, 13 away from the top of the hour. Let's go to line 2. Anthony from Baltimore. Anthony?
How you doing, Mr. Carl?
Doing great.
I just have a quick question. Is morality and goodness just a concept that's given to the masses of the people? Because if all these people in power have all this knowledge, did they skip that chapter? And that's my question. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I want to answer that question with a big yes. Because
and Anthony, we thank you for your call because you're getting some feedback there. But go ahead, brother Ty. But let me just respond to this way too, because if you listen to Mark Manheim, he told these people don't believe in stuff like that, man. They're Satanists. They say what they believe in. But go ahead, brother Tyrike.
No, they forgot about that completely. In fact, that's not even a part of their thinking process. And here's a little tidbit of information, folks, that you must know. And that is in 1972, under the Carter regime, there was such a thing called the 2000 report to the president.
All right, hold that thought on the 2000 report to the president. I'll let you explain that on the other side. Also, we have a tweeter got a question for you about OCO and the Golden Dawn cult. I've never heard of either of those, so I don't know if you've heard of them, Brother Tyrike. I want to know more about that. Folks, you too can join our conversation with Brother Tyrike. Reach out to us at 800-450-7876. Your calls are next as the big show rolls on from 1450 WOL, where information is power.
What's wrong, Tina? Where are you coming from?
I am just coming from the dealership, getting my Mercedes-Benz service. Do you know it cost me $500?
$500? Girl, you should have gone to Magic Benz in Hyattsville. Their A services are only $250 and B services start at just $250. They are my premier specialists and have up to 40% off dealer prices and 100% satisfaction guarantee.
But how did I miss this?
But there's more. They offer professional services, tire replacement, balance and rotation, engine cooling system flush, body work for all Mercedes, and more. Their oil changes are only $99.
Michelle, say no more. What's their info?
It's Magic Benz at 4716 Baltimore Avenue, Hyattsville, Maryland. Their number is 301-985-2676, or go to their website at magicbenzservice.com. Thank me later.
No, I am thanking you now.
Have lunch every Friday at 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. with Law, Money, and You right here on WOL 1450 AM. Law impacts every part of your life. Money is a part of your everyday life, and it's all about you. Every Friday, you will learn about the laws that will help you gain and protect your money while improving you and your family's life. It's all about you understanding how the law gives you asset protection to leave a legacy, improve your credit, your retirement plan, college funding, and everyday money management. The knowledge of the law and money is fun, but having it and using it wisely is even more fun. The fun starts every Friday right here on WOL, beginning at 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. with your hosts, Raymond Starks and attorney Marie Farrow. It's Law, Money, and You, a show designed with you in mind, so be sure to tune in this and every Friday at 12:30 p.m. right here on News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power. Don't miss this Friday's broadcast.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Real Talk Radio in the AM. Carl Nelson on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for staying with us. Just want to remind you, coming up later this morning, noted psychiatrist Dr. Frances Welson will be here. Dr. Welson says we need a new black attitude and mindset to achieve our goals, and she'll explain what she means by that. With us right now, Brother Tyrike, and before we left, I'll let you finish your answering the question that was posed to you, Brother Tyrike, and also if you know anything about the OCO and the Golden Dawn cult.
Well, what was the question again from the brother from Baltimore that I was answering? Got distracted.
Oh, I'm lost too.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's terrible. Anyway,
Anthony, if you're out there, just call us back, and yeah. Kevin will put you on, so we get your question. We'll call back and say Kevin.
About the morality. Yeah, he talked about the morality.
Oh yes, he talks about morality. Whether these guys, right. Well, what happened to morality?
Right, morality and kindness and these kinds of things, as you can see over in Europa over there, they're having such a harsh time receiving all the refugees that the policies of these imperial nations have caused. And so there's no morality and there's no kindness. This is all just a bunch of hogwash, because the only thing that's on the minds of these people who claim they are these well, I don't even want to call them people because they're not, but these elites in the world is money and power, and that's it, nothing else. And so they're attempting now with this Trans-Pacific Partnership and Transatlantic Partnership and the AFRICOM and the whole thing is to reconsolidate power of the imperial triad, and then to continue on doing what they've been doing all these last 200-300 years. And that's not going to happen, folks. Like I said, we're on the threshold. We're involved right now in the Third World War, whether we like it or not. And we pray that these fools who have all these weapons will realize that they can't even use these weapons, because if they do, everything is going to be gone. So, and self-preservation is the number one law of nature. So I don't think that, like Dick Gregory's been saying for the last, 30 or 40 years, yeah, well, you all got the bombs, you got the triggers and everything. Why don't you use them? If you're so bad and big and bad, why you don't use them? And why you don't mess with the countries that have them, is because that you can't use them. Because if you do use them again, it's all over for everybody and everything. So these are some of the things that we should be aware of, folks. That there's no morality with these people, and they have the plan, and then they've told us the plan, that they plan to reduce the population down to manageable numbers. And then, as I was mentioning earlier, this is the national policy of this country since 1972, when the Global 2000 report to the president, was put out, and Brzezinski and Kissinger are the ones who put the policy of reduction of the population down to manageable numbers by any means necessary, and that's the policy of the country and the policy around the world for this country and the triad of imperialism.
Right, and that is mentioned too in the book Committee of 300, Dick Gregory's book. He says he never leaves home without, by Dr. John Coleman. You can read all about that in that book as well.
Absolutely, yes, sir. Highly recommended. And let me recommend one other book that I think everyone in our community should know about, and I've written about. It's called The Concept of Race, and it's by the great writer Ashley Montague. It's called The Debunking of the Myth of Race. And as I mentioned earlier, it is these peons of Europa who came up with the idea that there were 4 races. And then soon there became 21 races. And then it went to 56 races. And then it went to 131 races. And as you hear from both public radio and private radio, the talk about race in this country is constantly in our face, but nobody wants to deal with it. Well, they don't want to deal with it because the concept of race is an anti-scientific bunch of nonsense. There's nothing scientific about race other than we are the race. All melanated people are the humanity. That's the race of the planet. And then all other people around the planet came out of that humanity. And so as long as we keep talking this nonsense about race and racism, racism is not what we think it is. It is the belief that there are races other than the human race. That's what racism is. And based upon that notion, that is why they construct all these nonsensical terms and start throwing different words that they steal the meaning of and put on us, called spells. We have lots of spells put on us by these words of art that are coming out of Madison Avenue and Fifth Avenue in New York, and are used by the public relations industry, which is one of the largest industries in this country, which is the liars industry, the propaganda industry, is the public relations industry.
Right. Actually, brothers, we got 2 minutes before the top down. We got a bunch of folks still want to talk to you. Let's see if we can get one before we go through the traffic. Line 1, Fred's in D.C. Fred, you have a question for Brother Tyrike?
Good morning to both of you. The question is it true that the Rockefellers control the Democratic Party?
I would say that's pretty accurate.
Okay, the second thing is, most Jews vote Democrat, right?
Well, supposedly.
Okay, and finally, what is the real reason why Obama has become the global ambassador for pushing homosexuality, and has Al Sharpton kissed the ring of Obama? Thank you. Have a great day.
Well, I would suggest that you look into.
Hold that thought right there, Brother Tyrike. I'll let you think on that one. Those questions from Fred, I'll let you answer on the other side, because we have a traffic report coming up. As I mentioned, the Pope's in town. A lot of roads closed in the DMV, and I'm sure our commuters want to know how to get around. Probably best way to use the metro today. 800-450-7876. Speak to Brother Tyrike, and also Dr. Wilson's coming up next right here on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
This traffic report brought to you by Cambria Hotels and Suites. Outer loop of the Capitol Beltway still jammed up as you head toward Route 1. The accident involving a horse trailer in the 2 center lanes. Authorities on the scene as you approach the 95 interchange. Then it's volume from College Park around to Georgia Avenue. Southbound on 95, you're slowing from Beltsville toward the Beltway, and the inner loop of the Beltway vehicle fire after Ritchie Marlborough Road. Still slow from Route 50. Book your next stay at Cambria Hotels and Suites, now open in downtown D.C. and Rockville. Their modern, stylish rooms make you feel like you've been upgraded. Book now at CambriaHotelsandSuites.com. Now your WOL weather forecast brought to you by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Still have cloudy skies and some sprinkles out there. 74 your high today, 59 the low tonight. Sunny skies at 81 tomorrow. Currently 62 degrees in Washington. Mothers Against Drunk Driving supports the victims of drunk driving, drug driving, and underage drinking at no cost. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit MADD.org. I'm Jeff Newman for News Talk 1450 WOL-AM, where information is power.
Hi, folks. Alan Thicke here. If you owe the IRS, they want their money now, and it's their right to get it. The truth is they would rather settle for less than bother you more, and that's why they've launched the Fresh Start program to help solve your tax problem once and for all. You could now qualify for a settlement that saves you thousands. No one knows this program better than the attorneys at Optima Tax Relief. They will fight to get you the best settlement.
Call 800-960-1575. 800-960-1575.
This is Barbara Arnwine. Be sure to tune in to Igniting Change every Tuesday from noon to 1 on WOL 1450 AM. I will provide provocative and empowering information to ignite change and inspire action in achieving racial justice and equality. It really is up to all of us to be and to ignite the change that we so desperately want to see in our neighborhoods, communities, our cities, our states, our nation, and the world. Each week, I want you to join me and my special guests to learn how your activism matters in realizing a more just and equal society for all. Ignite change with me every Tuesday from 12 to 1 p.m. Together, we can make a difference. Visit BarbaraArnwine.com for more information.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
Okay, here goes. I know more about cooking dinner for a party of 12 than I do about packing a lunch for a 12-year-old. I know kids like things like PB&J, pigs in a blanket. Oh, and fish sticks. They do love fish sticks. Fillets I get, but sticks? What part of the fish does the stick come from? I know I can read a cookbook that'll tell me how to make a red wine reduction. But where are the cookbooks that can teach me how to cut the crusts off bologna sandwiches? Oh, maybe we can compromise on mac and cheese. Can you make that with brie? Everybody likes brie, right?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to push your food around their plate. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
WOL Washington, WPRS HD2 Waldorf, WKYS HD2 Washington, WMMJ HD2 Bethesda, a Radio 1 station, and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show
on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. Momentarily, we're going to be speaking with Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She says that we need a new black attitude, a new mindset to achieve all the goals that we've set. We're going to let her explain that. But we're with Brother Tyrike. Brother Tyrike responded to Fred's set of questions before we left for the traffic report. Brother Tyrike?
Yeah, Brother Fred's question was, I apologize, but, with all these commercials in between, and I lost track of what his question was, his last question.
Yeah, because his question about the Rockefellers being Democrats and the Jewish community being predominantly Democrats.
Right. Uh-huh. And yes, they control a lot of the politics in this country because you remember, folks, it was the Republicans who were the Democrats before, and it's the Democrats who were the Republicans before, and that comes out of the fact that the Tories and the Whigs parties were brought over here from England, and they've been switching back and forth on us here over the last 2 centuries. And remember, folks, we do not elect the president. So, all this talk about the presidency and the presidency is already picked. The president of the next president is already picked. It's picked by the Council on Foreign Relations. And it's not an accident that this happens.
I tell you what, in the interest of time, I got one more person's bugging to a question for you because we got Dr. Welsing standing by. Ramon's in Atlanta. Ramon, your question for Brother Tyrike. Is Ramon there on line 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Ramon.
Yes, Carl, good morning. How are you this morning and your guests?
Excellent. Come on.
Yeah, well, I was trying to, I was calling just to add a footnote to what you guys were discussing this morning, but a lot of people seem not to be discussing and probably not aware of or paying attention to is CERN. A lot of people are talking about CERN. And what they're doing over there in Switzerland with that, the largest atoms match in the world. And these guys playing off. All these things tie up to what you were saying with the fall.
All right, let's give him a chance to respond. Thanks, Ramon. And then we got to go to Dr. Welsing.
Ramon is asking about the CERN, and the CERN is a massive project over in Switzerland where they're doing this huge collider. And what can happen with this collider machine that they have tried to fire up a couple of times already and have failed, fortunately for us, I believe, that if that thing goes awry over there, there could be a hole in the earth from that collider that's over there. And these people are threatening the entire planet with all this craziness that they're involved in and this lack of morality and care for people, and instead only care for the money.
All right, Tyrike, I'll let you go. Before we let you go, tell folks how they can get in touch with you.
Okay, my telephone number where you can text me your information is area code 424-248-4007, and my email is wellness WELLNESSENTIALS wellnessangels@dslextreme.com, and I have lots of information for people who want to get on my email list. And greetings to Dr. Welsing, and have a great day, you all.
All right.